Let me give you more reasons to follow the homie Sil for the latest news, scoops and moves he's about to reveal. From coffee talks to special brews, I'm out of burgers for meals. A cup of bourbon with that tea that's about to get spilled. Like, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go, take out your pen and paper, sit down and take notes. Sil is the realest among imposters, scavenging cutthroats. So, what's the latest word? Yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. Between DC and Marvel, they both have a startle. Disney's moving finicky, let's not mention Star Wars. All these movie execs be drunk off their power, disconnected from the fans in the ivory towers. What's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. When they keep making the same mistake, that's what you call insanity. They can't even acknowledge their self-inflicted calamity. What's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. Scoop Senator, Coffee Talks, also covering analytics, making his own reviews, cause it's always been the critics. They clout chasers, money driven, repeating the latest gimmick. Come over to Sil Nation where true vision is given. Listen, what's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. Let's not forget Mikey's son, always special to the crew. From day one when him and Sil got together for special brew. What's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go. I guess I'll finish on this note. When the niggas go flip mode, they turn gremlins, I'm Gizmo. Come from my people, my kinfolk. For them I ride for and kill for. With this pistol I'm skillful. She can really escalate till it all goes abysmal. What's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. I'm a watchman, forever vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word, yo, Sil, we need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil, we need to know. The ins and outs, who's walking out, buying in, we need to know. Your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show, let's go.
What's up? What's up? We here for the late night stream. We trying to get some initial thoughts. I just seen Superman, James Gunn Superman, and we got to talk about this, man. This is time, because I just been hearing people talking for this past year about this film and what it is and what it isn't. And people start seeing the final cut. You know, I'm hearing stuff here and there. I got a chance to finally just see the film. And we got to talk about it. We're fully shielded up. We got the Walmart Superman shirt. Shout out to my homie. I lost a bet. This is a long story. But I am rocking with this Fortress of Solitude cup now. It does light up. It does light up. If it was darker in here, it'll look cooler. So that was actually a nice collectible right there. I didn't get the Warner Brothers meal plan. I was trying to push them. I said, hey, I will do some nice words if I get that lunch plan. And they wouldn't give me no coupons. So what's up with Sil Nation? We gotta talk about Superman. Oh man, we're going to do initial thoughts, not going to spoil anything, but you're going to know how I feel. And then we'll go more in depth Thursday evening. We'll talk more about box office this weekend. Much love to the chat. Who we got in the chat here? I got thoughts, y'all. Let's see. I see Dave. I see Hosea. Jovic, buckle up, Jovic. Travis L, what's good? Agent 47, Music City, Johnny Portis. We got a Joker. Did I say Fernando? Real Talk, Carlos, what's good? Hater Shin. Let's see, Maria, I see you. Let's see, it was some comments. I started a little late because I got home a little later than I expected. Tristan D, what's good? We gotta talk about this film, man. It's been a lot of, I think, misinformation on both ends. I want to make it very clear what I feel about this film. So just simple enough. Did I like this film? Was this film just hot trash? No. If we kind of get into ranking, and I ain't gonna get too specific tonight, but I just want to give initial thoughts. James Gunn, as I said before I saw this film, I was like, James Gunn knows how to structure a film. And the way the film opens up, we call it a crawl. It's not really a crawl. It's just like some exposition, but it's real quick and it's really structured and it's almost poetic. And we'll talk more about that again Thursday, what it actually says. But Gunn really puts you into this film in the beginning. And I'm like, nice setup, Gunn. This first 60 seconds, I was like, oh, okay, Gunn. You kind of set something up. Then this first hour of the film. Now, this is my personal thoughts. First hour of the film, I think, was a little jarring, actually. It was a little, it throws you into that world. It's like, okay, you set up the structure, you see some of the stuff that you saw in the trailers and things like that, and you're just like, okay, it's a living, breathing world. It's there. Cool. I would say in the first hour of the film, because I kind of checked my phone, the first hour of the film, I checked the clock. If it wasn't for Clois, the first hour would have been pretty messy. It's like, I don't know. We heard about the restructuring of the film and kind of taking things out or putting things in, and you feel that. The only part I felt comfortable in the first hour was when Clark and Lois are together. That's like the best. In fact, they could have just named this. They could have named this film instead of Superman. They could have just named it Clois. They could have just named it Clois because that literally saves the hour. Because then things pick up. I do feel once you kind of see what Lex is really doing, more information comes out. Then the second act, I'll just say some certain supporting characters really carry that second act, and the film definitely, I feel, has a pretty good third act. I actually feel Gunn didn't fall for not too much of the CGI monster. CGI was kind of part of the second act, and again, the strong supporting cast helped the second act. So first hour, like first act and a half, Clois. Without that, this film would have fell apart, in my opinion. Second act, again, strong supporting characters. Third act, Gunn figured out what movie he was making. So most people, if the Clois don't grab you in the first half of the film, you're not going to like this film because you may not make it to the third act. Let's see some of what y'all saying, because again, I'm not going to be too specific, but I am going to, and I have more to say. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Grace Randolph. I'm sylabdul. Yeah. So, but I don't remember what Grace said, to be quite honest. Yeah, definitely a Lois and Clark film. That's a strong. I mean, like I said, they could have just called this Clois, and then roll credits because that was the strongest part of the film for me. Like even Superman is stronger when Lois, and I will let me dispel this. Oh, Lois saves the day and stuff. There's a lot of false information that was out there. This isn't some Lois runs the show. Like, not at all. Like I got a chance to just listen to people just talk, and the people I heard about the film, they was telling me bits and pieces of it, and I'm thinking, okay, but all the narratives, and I'm gonna get into some kind of more specific. All the narratives you heard about this film before it came out, it's really not true. You had someone a couple months ago saying they had the post credits of the film, and they were wrong. They were completely wrong about everything they told you about this film. But they're not going to get called out about it because people got so caught up in what they wanted this film to be. I allow things to be, revealed to me. I don't chase narratives. If I, like I said, I told you the first hour, it may be a tough watch for some people. And then I think it's Gunn does find himself. That's what y'all saying with Grace. Well, if Gunn gets out of his own way, no. Gunn figured this out by the third act. Now, is that first hour going to test most of the audience where they're tuned out when you get to the third act? We'll see. But I was sitting there the third act. I was like, oh man, I was like, Gunn figured this out. He actually figured it out. And I'm going to give you the best comparison because everyone's been way off. Without seeing the film, everyone's been way off on everything. This is crazy. So Clark and Lois part for sure. I will say this. Again, more specifics Thursday night, but in a weird way, Lex was my least favorite part of this film. Now, not saying Nicholas Hoult is terrible. Not saying that. It's just, I think the supporting cast was pretty strong. Cornsweat did good. Like I said, he's better when Brosnahan is in the scene with him. Then he hits pretty good marks with Clark. And then when Ma and Pa can't, Cornsweat does really good in those moments. I guess more on Cornsweat later. But I actually like Lex the least. In a weird way. And he doesn't take you out of the film. It's just you just dropped into this moment where it's like, oh, Lex is just mad. It's like, okay, I kind of would have loved to seen, like, we understand the comics, like how he sees Superman. And I don't think this was fully displayed to us in this film. You're just like, okay, Lex is just really upset, which is fine. It's just how I feel, right? Third act was good. Like I said, first half, if you don't buy into Clois, I think this was a 4-quadrant film. So when I say 4-quadrant, I mean men, women, old and young. In the theater I was in, it was older people. Everyone, I say 75% had Superman shirts and hoodies. You had older people, younger people, but not like young. I'm trying to think like Gen Z or younger. I don't know if I saw too many. Kids are gonna love crypto. I mean, you got that Herbie thing in Fantastic Four. Forget that crypto. They're right. Crypto does steal the show. Okay, when crypto's in the scene, it's like important stuff happening. You're like, oh, crypto. And just as I suspected, you saw all his scenes except pretty, I guess pivotal part in the third act, which is probably crypto's best moment. So crypto does steal the scenes. He does. I will say that. Let's catch up what we're saying because I want to get where y'all at. Rating 1 out of 100. I'll do my rating Thursday because I'm gonna see it again Thursday. I'm gonna see it again Thursday. Then I'll probably rate, but I will kind of rank it like in my DC. There's levels to DC, right? And there's levels to Superman, but everyone's not making the same Superman film. Like this let me say it like this. In my opinion, and you Superman purists, y'all chime in. When you talk about Superman films, live action, it starts with Donner, obviously, and you got that quintessential origin story with Donner. I think Zack Snyder came along and did a modern version of Donner, and I think those two films are the best Superman films. And then some people put Superman 2 up there. And then it's kind of like all the rest of the Superman 3, 4, which Quest of Pieces, I still think is a good watch. But now on the level, Superman Returns, some people like it, but like I said, I put Man of Steel up there with Donner as quintessential Superman stories. So you got the original Superman film, Donner, Man of Steel. Now put Superman 2 kind of like up there with that. I don't put this Superman film up there. I do not. I know there's a lot of people coming out saying, "Oh, this is the greatest Superman film ever." And like I said, they could have called this Clois and got away with it. They could have called this Metropolis featuring Superman. And it's not saying there's not enough Superman. That's not even a point I'm trying to make with that. I'm just saying there's levels to this Superman. There's levels to this. And I think those high achievement films and quintessential origin stories are just heavier films. Doesn't make this film bad. Doesn't make this film bad. There's parts I told y'all, and I'll kind of get a little specific, but I don't put it up there with those Superman films. So that means this ain't up there with Dark Knight, in my opinion. This ain't, BVS is my favorite CBM film ever. It's not there with the action. Not saying it's bad action. Again, there's levels. Now, knowing that this is the start of the DCU, do I think this is enough to get the DCU started? Yeah, I do think with the Clois dynamic, the crypto stuff, I'll get into the tone. I think it's going to make its money. And this could be the beginning of something. But just that first hour, a little jarring. Little jarring. It took him that long. Yeah, with Gunn, it's like that first hour, I was like, okay, Gunn, what we doing? And then some switch flipped off. And thanks to, again, some supporting cast. He has a very strong cast in this film. And that's what gets you to the third act. And you accept it. You're like, okay, this is just what the story is. Fine. I still don't get no Smallville feel, Carlos, but I know you've been pushing that. The film was not offensive to women. See that I don't understand. Yeah, no, Corn Sweat, he holds his own. The character of Superman, he did have great moments and like delivering, lines showing the character of his Superman, which is the character of Superman in the comics. His character arc is, it kind of lines up with what people were saying, where just, what's his true place in the world of metahumans and heroes and being an alien. He's clearly an alien. They make that very clear in the film because people was going crazy. Oh, they're all metahumans. This film's going to bomb. It's like, Clark is an alien. and that's part of his character arc, kind of coming to grips with that. And he has some really good Clark and Superman-y speeches, just delivery. He's good. If as long as his money that this film does the money it needs to do, he'll be a good Superman for the next 10 years. Let's see. But the post cameo leaked. I ain't gonna talk about any specifics with that. Yeah, I'm not gonna confirm. Not gonna confirm. Okay, Ultraman. Like I said, I'm not gonna spoil too much, but Ultraman, pretty much what you expect. Pretty much what you expect. I'll just say that. Ultraman's a big brute, so that's what you got. But like all these theories, people was like, oh, Ultraman, and he does this, and he's from this, and like none of that stuff was true. There's a lot of people just been talking. Wait till I get to the real spoilers, like this weekend. Just a lot of fluff out there, man. yeah, just Nicholas Hall. I was coming in thinking like, oh, he's gonna kill this, right? It's like, nah. I mean, not in my opinion. Uh, he's all right. He's all right. He's all right. I mean, he probably needs a better team, right? I'll just say that with like, maybe he needs a better team with him. No, yeah, there's a lot of bad rumors out there. The writing wasn't bad, so because like I said, I think Lex is a pretty good writer, but I will say this is pretty straightforward, pretty straightforward of a film. I think it's probably the simplest film James Gunn has written because it's pretty paint by the numbers. But then, like I said, the character performances does save him. I do feel he has a strong cast. Addressing the tone, I'm just gonna say this don't feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, y'all. I really didn't get that. I really didn't get that watching this film. This guy. I mean, again, a lot of people that didn't even see the film was trying to say that. This definitely ain't like the Flash. I like the Flash, but this ain't that. So I need some better comparisons before you see a film. You need some better comparisons. Was it like a joke fest? No. The funny thing, even though we said they fixed the marketing and the trailers and stuff like that, every scene that you saw in the trailer, and you just like, how did that land? Like, I'm gonna give y'all an example. Okay, like this one here.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
They did a disservice. They cut that scene up to try to land that joke in the trailer, and they did it a disservice. Because in the film, you're like, yeah, that kind of flowed. like it just certain things. I'm like, they didn't really market this as they kind of put some pitfalls in front of their marketing because in the movie it flows. Like this part here, it just kind of happens. And I want to say in the film when it did this point, it didn't linger as much after the teeth come out. It just kind of like boom, and then it kept moving. But I could be wrong. But I was waiting for moments like that, and I was like, okay, why did they put that in the trailer? Because they didn't even need to put that in the trailer, especially out of sequence. Because then it's just like, what are you doing? So I had moments like that where I'm just like, okay, these scenes kind of went a little better. Again, it establishes the tone pretty early, and I didn't think it was some all-out joke fest. It wasn't no pee jokes and poop jokes like people was trying to say. This is a pretty mature James Gunn film. I'm gonna be quite honest. Now he has his moments. The crypto has his moments. But like the delivery, again, it's the performances. I think maybe they were reading Gunn's script and was like, Gunn, let me say it like this, because the way you write it, maybe that because his cast was pretty good. The cast was pretty good. Not too hokey. No, I didn't think it was. I mean, I was waiting to feel like, again, in that first hour, I don't know if it's the editing or whatever, and my camera's acts up when I start talking specifics, right? I don't know what his problem was the first hour of the film, but like I said, when he figures that out during the second act, and then you get to the third act, I'm just like, man, like you may want to redo that first hour because I think you could have had more there. I mean, yeah, Superman does get punched on a lot. I will say that, yeah. And that, again, that may bother some people. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me catch up what y'all saying. Yeah, it's not up there. Like I said, it's still enjoyable. This ain't Superman 3. Like, people yeah, like I said, oh my goodness. Like I can't believe people was trying to tell y'all the post-credit scenes and was totally lying to y'all. It's amazing. It's amazing. But when you want something to sound bad, you're gonna make sure. You know what I mean? That's just I just don't roll like that. I gotta see things for myself. they're not judge. Can't just, it's just weird. We'll get more specific in the later streams. Makes me think. Oh, this is a really good. That's what I'm saying. Clois is the strongest part of the film. Without that aspect, this film would have been all over the place, in my opinion. And like I said, save. Let me get into the Justice Gang banner. Pretty good. You get some cool banter early in the film. Then you get some third act moments with them. And I'll get more specific and when I kind of do more spoilers. But right now, Justice Gang. You probably didn't need the entire gang, but you wanted heroes out there. So cool. They're there. You get a few cameos here and there. Cool. But it was, all the Justice Gang didn't really have to be there. I'll just say that. Probably just two of the members really was pivotal to the story. Then there were two members they was kind of just there. And that's cool. They're just there. Let's see what else we're saying in the chat here. Yeah, Clois very strong Clois stuff. All right, we're not gonna do spoilers, but I agree with what someone said. It's not. I don't think it's goated. No. So let's, and maybe I'm kind of catching up with comments. Maybe you missed what I said. There's levels to this. Could this be an enjoyable film, but not as great as the Diner films? And I believe Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is quintessential origin story. So that's just on a different atmosphere. This film, it drops you in this world. It does a great job dropping you into this world. Because I didn't know if that was going to be like a problem. But some editing, some creative choices early in this film, okay. I'll let you get away with that, right? But I want to tell you, because people, again, was all year was trying to tell people what this film was going to be before anyone saw it and what they think it should be. It's not like I said, this ain't Guardians of the Galaxy. It definitely ain't. What type of Batman do you see fitting in this world? Oh, give us a new DCU Batman. You don't want no there's moments in the film where it's just like it's chaos happening, and people are just used to kaiju's popping up, right? And the kaiju fight went different than I thought it was going to do. I like the big goofy kaiju moment. That burrowing scene still was out of context for me when he was like a gopher. That still was kind of like, I don't say out of context, but I was just like, okay, he just wanted a moment. Okay. That was kind of farming. He was farming for a moment. But the kaiju fight was what I expected. It just, a few things happened that I didn't expect in that fight. But this film is big, it's colorful. It doesn't look bad on the big screen. That's another thing I do want to say. When people are saying, oh, this looks terrible on my phone, dude. It's like, it's on a big screen, everything looks pretty good. Like it was only one sequence that I didn't like the CGI. I think Music City kind of picked up what I was saying with that. It's one sequence. It's kind of like, I think, in the second act where I'm like, okay, this looks like some hot mess, Gunn. Like, what we do? What we doing? It's true. It's like the Flash. But that one moment, which it went on too long too. I was just like, okay, we need, y'all didn't pay the CGI people that week or something. Because the rest of the film looks okay. Like I said, the action is just okay. That's one thing too. So going into this film, I thought Lex was going to be the standout and the action. And the action is just okay. Like it's nothing like, because me thinking of BVS and stuff, I'm thinking of like crazy action moments. Though I will say one, probably a cool moment at the end for the Justice Gang, and one particular member has like their own warehouse scene, quote unquote, uh, which is like a standout. But the action and Lex just ain't in my top three for this. It's the Chlois. That's the main thing. You actually end up liking Crypto. I hate to admit it. Doggone it. Doggone it, Crypto. Just off the top of my head, I'll say Chlois, and not in any particular order, but Chlois is number one. But after that, you end up liking Crypto. You do. It's Gunn. That's a cheat code. Crypto's a cheat code in this film. And then a particular supporting character is a real standout in this film, and we'll spoil more of that later this week. But yeah, the action is just okay. It's about the story. How was Guy Gardner? Yeah. That's all I can say. Like really, that's really all I can say. We'll talk more about it Thursday night. I really have nothing to say about Guy Gardner. I'm gonna be quite honest. I mean, the suit fits in with the world that you're in, and again on the big screen, it doesn't take me out of it. I said the kaiju fight, yeah, it is big and silly. Like let's be real, like Gunn is trying to have this big and silly world, and he's doing that, but it's a little more serious than I thought. I mean, I did like Mr. Terrific, and I'll get to again Thursday stream. We'll talk more. It's some serious moments, but it's some one-liner moments that works. I'm trying to think of like, is it a joke where I'm just like, oh, like, Gunn, you're going on. I don't know, because I thought this was going to be the moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to eye roll in the theater.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
I thought I was going to eye roll so hard seeing that, but like when you see what happens right before that, and then Mr. Drip's like, "Come on, man," and then he even says more. So it's like y'all kind of messed that scene up in the trailer, because that actually, I will say, I know everyone says what happens in their theater means it's going to happen everywhere, right? But the whole theater laughed at that moment. The theater laughed. Like I said, the crypto, everyone was eating up the crypto stuff. Like I said, it wasn't fair. Crypto's not fair. Even though you still had that moment in the 5-minute preview where crypto's doing too much. And I'm just like, okay, I'm like, yeah, I still feel crypto's doing too much. But then throughout the film, you're pulling for crypto. You really are. Dang it, Gunn. Not supposed to like crypto. Let's see. Let me see what y'all saying, and I'm gonna give some again non-spoilery. But no, it didn't feel like a joke fest. It really didn't. You're kind of there. Lex is super serious the entire film, but I just don't think he was a strong part of the film. But Superman, like I said, that one-liner I just played with Mr. Terrific, that's one thing. The online stuff is actually funny. And that's him and Lois. He works when Corn Sweat and Brosnahan's on the scene together, that's the best parts of the film. And then when they're apart, Lois is still pretty strong. And like I said, Corn Sweat has a few good moments where you're like, hey, he gets the character. It's just his own version. You know what I mean? But everything where everyone's complaining about his eyes being red, it's a reason in the film, and it actually makes sense why his eyes was red. Because again, people are just saying stuff without seeing the film. Everything that feels like, that's out of place, it actually finds its place in the film. Like it really, I'm really shocked at how off a lot of people were about this. We're gonna get into the Rotten Tomatoes in just a moment. Oh, I heard somebody's feelings saying I like the Flash. Would I say it's better than Aquaman? This is better than Aquaman, yeah. The Aquaman films, yeah. Yeah. I said this isn't a bad film by James Gunn. Again, thankfully for him, things fell the way they did, after that first hour. Because after the first hour, I was getting a little nervous. I was like, this may be a full-on roast, but this is more like a slap on the wrist for the first hour. Then it's like, okay, Gunn, you know what movie you're making, right? You know what I mean? And he leans into the lowest stuff. He leans into some supporting characters, and it does stand up pretty well, actually. Are you talking about the Flash? Yeah, no poop jokes. No, I was sitting there like, okay, is Gunn gonna? I was thinking people online had me thinking this gonna be like Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, no, it's no dance offs, nothing like that. uh, it's debatable because again, the James Gunn films, that I've seen, the Guardians films. I mean, people like what Slither, Brightburn he produced. I think this is, as far as for James Gunn as a director, I think this is one of his better films. Yeah, but you're not talking about rarefied air here. Like this, you're not talking about the best Superman film ever or the best DC film ever. This film is not that. Now, is it a bad film? Nah, I think he structured it pretty well. Like again, the way he starts it off, give you a little exposition, on the screen, and then boom, he throws you into this world, and I'm like, good job. And then just things get a little weird for about 45 minutes. And I was like, I'm holding on, like, okay, good. I will roast if I must. You could be right. You could be right with that. Because all those clips was from the first act, except a couple. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, we got a super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Been a very interesting week. It's been an interesting couple years covering the Superman film. And we're going to get into the Rotten Tomatoes in just a moment and what this film could possibly do in the box office. I'm just going to say it. Like I said, just walking out of theater and processing, remembering what I could. I think Gunn got his 4-quadrant film with this, even more so than probably even the Guardians. This is some of Gunn's actually best stuff. And again, that could land with people how they want, but he's made this film accessible for the 4-quadrant audience. Now, will they respond? We'll see. We're going to talk about the critics. And of course, the audience score is going to be the big thing, whether this film makes money or not. That's what it's coming down to. Out of 5, what would you give it? Now, I'm going to do my score Thursday night, Fell by Design, but since you did a super chat, I got to give you something here. So I will say my score, I'm leaning towards a fresh score. So I don't think this is a bad film. I actually do not think it's a bad film. This film could lose some, like I said, in the first act and a half. It probably could lose some. When everyone saw that scene where, Clark's mad, where's the dog? But when you see what happens before that, you see why Superman is so teed off. Because just several things happens in a row to Superman where you're like, yeah. Was it a little over the top? Yeah, it's a James Gunn film. Yeah. Where's the dog? Do I got that? Yeah, I got that drop.
Where's the dog?
When you see the previous 5 minutes, you're like, okay, Superman's fine. Maybe he'll just kill Lex. You know what I'm saying? But I felt they showed too much of this film, and maybe that threw off some people before even seeing the film. So I will say I'm leaning towards a fresh score fail, and like I said, Thursday I'll do my official score. But I will say officially, I don't think this is a bad film. No, Kevin, and anyone that's I guess thinking this, domestic is more important than international. So just yeah, I wouldn't say these combination of words together again. That it could just do. Let's say if it just does 400 domestic, that could be a win. If it does 400 international and little domestic, then they actually be taking a loss. So yeah, just you want to flip that around. It's having pretty good number of projections for domestic. It's been tracking very well up to this week, and it seems to have held. So, um, so yeah, we'll talk about that. I think I got the numbers. There we go. I'll pull up that article in just a moment. People be saying stuff. Felt by design. Appreciate the super chat. Super chats are active on the platform, and I'll definitely make sure I answer your questions because we're going to kind of skim through a few more questions, and then we'll get to the box office and Rotten Tomatoes before we close this one out. But like I said, initial thoughts. Oh yeah, this is another thing I want to say. What is this film like? Like, is this, is it Guardians? No, it's not Guardians. Is I will say it's not Hamadaverse, but people are like, no, it's Hamadaverse. So I think James Gunn did give this tone like I would say like a Marvel film, but when I say Marvel film, I'm talking about Raimi, Spider-Man. I think this is what Gunn was actually going for the overall tone of the film. Now, I feel Raimi is a better director than James Gunn, but I think James Gunn is a good writer. Raimi doesn't write his scripts. Gunn writes his scripts and shoots his scripts. I felt like when I went to see Raimi Spider-Man, and people may say more like Spider-Man 3, but the thing is, Spider-Man 3 had its moments too. I mean, it had its silly moments, but I think that's really the tone of this film. Felt like a Raimi Spider-Man. It actually did. Not peak Spider-Man 2 level. Again, there's levels. There's levels to this, But just because you didn't hit that level doesn't mean this is a terrible film. It's just that's the Marvel I think Gunn is trying to do for DC, and we'll see if that works. We'll see if that works overall. But Phil says here, is it an automatic rewatch? I watched Sinners and wanted to watch it again immediately. With Superman, well, I'm going to see it again Thursday. So the main thing for me is that do I want to go to a premium screen the next time? And walking out of there, I was like, yeah, some moments I would like to see in IMAX because it's like clear moments. Cause I saw it just on a 4D screen or something like that, 40x. So you didn't get the real length. But I noticed moments where I'm like, oh, this is an IMAX scene. You know what I mean? Like I was like, okay, this is where you want, especially the kaiju. Obviously, that's like made for IMAX. Moments like that. So yeah, I would say this is a rewatch for sure, and I want to make sure I see it in IMAX next time with that. So appreciate you for that. Let's skim some more questions, and then we're gonna get to the numbers. Yeah, BVS is still my favorite CB. The moments in moments in theater, because that's the thing with this James Gunn film. It's a nice together put. Once the story gets together, it's a decent watch. and there's some good moments. The action really didn't, hit me in the face with this Superman film. BVS, man, you get to that third act, I mean, you got Batman versus Superman. You know, you got Doomsday. You got Wonder Woman jumping in. You got the warehouse scene. You got all this stuff, and it just BVS was just shoot me with caffeine, shoot me up. With James Gunn, it's more character moments. I guess is that the better way to say it? It's just two different worlds we're dealing with. It's a solid film. Yeah, I think it's a solid film. I think, and like I said, I'm just saying, people, if they think they was on the fence saying, "Oh, this is gonna be just goofy one-liners everywhere," it's actually not. It's actually not. Yeah, even Miss Tussmacher, she's not as dumb as she looks. I'll just say that. Uh, um, there's some good character moments in this film. Jimmy has a few good just character moments. That's what Gunn is pushing. I think he needs to touch up the action just a little bit more. And Supergirl, make sure there's a little bit more action, because that will again, get more of the bros to check it out. But this is, I guess a family film. It does have a little language here and there. Let's see. Nathan Fillion, meh. Shout out to Bill Reeve in the chat. They mentioned Bill Reeve. I don't want to spoil the film, but they mentioned Bill Reeve in the film. But meh. Nathan Fillion. Shout out to Rob. I see you in the chat, man. Okay, let's catch up before we transition. The action with Clark, action was just okay. It was just okay. But like I said, one character does have that warehouse moment in this film. It's not Superman, but one character. I'm like, after this certain scene, and I'll spoil more again Thursday night, but after this character's, warehouse scene, I was like, okay, let's get this spinoff going. Let's just do it. Okay. While we playing. Yeah, no dance off. No, it didn't make me cry, but I don't cry easily, so yeah. And was there some heartful moments? Oh yeah. Ma and Pa Kent. That was a nice moment. That's probably the only because you think what Gunn likes doing is emotional stuff. The Ma and Pa, that's that's probably emotional for some people. Like I said, the heart of this film was Clois, and even book ends it at the end. Clois, it's like I'm going to give Gunn credit with that. If you're a fan of Clois, I think you would like this film. You Clark and Lois fans. Let's see. Okay, let me catch up. I'm about to go into some numbers. Very comic booky, but it's the world. Like he sets up the world perfectly. Like he did that pretty good. The first minute of the film just introduce you into this world, and then just boom, you in there, and you get that opening sequence. We kind of know what that sequence is now, right? It lands okay, and then it goes from there. Yeah, I will say, Superman animated. Yeah, I mean, just it's more of a JL anime because you got these, you got the Justice Gang, you got this big DC world. You just know it's an alternate reality. It's like I said from the beginning. So credit where it's due with that. Yeah, I gotta see it in IMAX because it was some moments. It definitely was some moments. I can't really compare it. Now the suit was fine in sequence, like in the film, in this world. The suit's fine. The suit does. I wasn't distracted by the suit. Nathan Fillion, I see you, Jules. Yeah, Nathan Fillion, meh. Oh, it's definitely some corny. It's definitely some corny stuff in it as well too. Definitely some corny stuff. So let's transition here, because I want to get to this before I guess I'll leave this up before we close it down. Okay, so someone threw this up here. So let me do that. They threw up a parent's guide for this film of no blood and gore. It's like it starts off with Superman bloody, so I don't know why they said that, but this is a family film. I'm just gonna tell people right now. This is a film all families could go to as long as you don't gotta earmuff your children too much. Probably a couple words here or there. Um, they made this into a family film. I don't know if that's what Gunn intended, exactly from the beginning. Maybe that's why the first hour was felt a little disjointed. First hour. Clois was the anchor, or really that's saying Brosnahan was the anchor of the first hour of the film. But I think the crypto stuff and everything. This is a true 4-quadrant film. I think Gunn really did that. You got the critics on your side. Again, it's up to the audience. And if it's tracking the way they say it's tracking, we're gonna look into that next here. Yeah, this is a family friendly film. Yeah, it's nothing. But I don't know. I grew up watching some crazy stuff, but this is a family film, so that could be their end to as far as the box office numbers. Now, let's pull up. We got Rotten Tomatoes, so let me move this eventually. Move my. Got an 86. Is that still an 86? Let me refresh. '86. Let's kind of talk about Rotten Tomatoes because notoriously on my channel, I really don't care about Rotten Tomatoes too much. We'll keep that up there. I don't really go by critic stores, though I know some critics. Like I personally know some people on the Rotten Tomato list, and I the people that I like, I read their reviews. Obviously, we make our own minds up with these films, but the power of the critic score. If you're trying to, we're just talking about just strictly trying to make money, not if the film is good or not. But if you come out with a certified fresh, and that's what it is. It's certified fresh, certified lover boy. No, I'm sorry. Certified fresh, 86%. Now, what does that mean? Doesn't mean the film is automatically good. I remember one time I used to, this was years ago, okay, people, but I used to go by Rotten Tomato scores. Like if I'm looking for a new movie to make, or you want to take someone out to a movie or something, what's Rotten Tomatoes say? I used to go by that, and then I started hitting a couple films where I was like, I don't like this film. It's a 99 on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't like it. So I had to kind of adjust my thoughts on Rotten Tomatoes. But what does this mean? First off, like the older crowd still leans into Rotten Tomatoes if they're picking a film for the weekend. So this still is a tool. Again, we're talking about older crowds, the boomer generation, I guess. They still do go by Rotten Tomatoes. So you have an angle there. If you want to make the headlines, you want to have a decent Rotten Tomato score with the critics. That's still a factor. But when you certify fresh, that means you pretty much secured at least a 75% of eligible critics are giving you a fresh score. So 75% of the critics have already turned in fresh reviews. So this is locked in as certified fresh. It could drop down to high 70s if it wants to, but it's not going to go lower than the 75. That's been clinched because of that certified label. So then, as I always say, it's about winning the headlines, and they're winning the headlines, getting that. So that's step one. Again, if you're trying to make as much money as possible, by comparison, like you just had a um, Jurassic World Rebirth had a bad critical score, but it's a strong IP, and it made its money. People lean into international now. Okay, you gotta make home money at home, and so we'll see what Jurassic World Rebirth does with the low cinema score for that. I think it'll take a drop this weekend, and then with Superman being this family film, I think it's going to easily make more than Jurassic World this weekend, but that remains to be seen. But you get that critical score, and they say this is either tied for the highest or the best rated Superman film ever so far. That score still has to settle where it's going to settle. So you win the headline. So people saying, okay, I'm going to go to the movies this weekend. Those that rely on this, they see it's a fresh score and it's Superman. I think you're going to get some walk-up business with that. If this Superman had like I said, a bad critical score, I think that could dissuade people from seeing it. So that's just, I think, where the DC label is at. So next for this film is obviously audience score. You won't get that until Friday, the official opening night. It will be Rotten Tomatoes audience, which I think it will be a mid-80s. And then cinema score. Was this a crowd pleaser? I think people taking out the time to see this film, I think they're gonna like this. So I'm gonna give this an A. I'm gonna say this is gonna be high 80s, Rotten Tomato audience. A. This ended up being more of a family film than I thought, and more of a love story than I thought. So I'll give credit where it's due. With that, Metacritic. I really don't go by Metacritic, to be quite honest. Jurassic World, I don't know if those numbers are out yet. Let's see, what's today? Maybe tomorrow we'll know Jurassic World's projections, because I don't think the projections are out yet. Let me double check, because this is an active week, so they probably put out numbers sooner than later. Yeah, I don't see any projections for Jurassic World yet. But what my guess would be, because of the bad cinema score for Jurassic World, it had a 91.5. So just say 90 million opening weekend domestic for Jurassic World Rebirth. So what's that? Am I that bad in math now? But I would say like low 40s, high 30s. I think that's what Jurassic World would get. But the numbers ain't out yet. Yeah, who goes by Metacritic? I don't really go by all right, this is a good transition. So Superman won't be Jurassic World's 4. Oh, you're talking about Rebirth, right? So yeah, so they had a 90 domestic opening. Let's end this off talking about the projections. Maybe this article talks about Jurassic World's projections. I don't see any projections, like official projections. Yeah, Rebirth. Yeah. So Rebirth had 90 million. They're saying Superman, and it's been tracking like this the whole time. I know that one week they were saying like, 90 to 120, and people was like, it's gonna do 90. Now it's back up to 100 plus. Oh, the fix is in. The fix is in, right? but let's go through this. Let's go through this. Let me blow this up a little bit. Box office, Superman targets 100 million plus domestic opening. Tracking suggests 130. I say this, and I've been following projections for years now. So, and I ended up on the wrong side of Matt Reeves' The Batman. Some of y'all saw that in real time. Well, I was doubting some of that tracking, and it ended up really hitting. So I kind of learned my lesson there. Like, oh no, if the data is there, you don't want to go through that. Dave said Jurassic World had a 147 million open. No, I got Box Office Pro right here. So let's kind of put this to bed here. I don't know how any other way to say this, but like, yeah, when we talk open and weekends, we're talking Friday, Saturday, Sunday numbers. Now, I applaud Universal and their PR team. Like, I would hire them to market anything for me, but I'm into marketing as well too. That's like my day job. But um, open and weekend is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Box Office Pro, they're one of the best in the business doing it. Yeah, Dave, I don't know what else to tell you. Yeah, I don't know, I really don't know what else to tell you. Jurassic World Rebirth, July 4th, which was Friday, 5th is Saturday, Sunday's the 6th. 91.5. That's the number. Now it came out early on Wednesday and great. Like, you made money. That's great. You're still gonna be tracked from weekend to weekend. And actually it did. They said it over exceeded. Yeah. Yeah, it says right. I got the picture on the screen. Why are we why are we confused? 91.5. Yeah, I guess we could round it up, but what? Yeah. So and then it got the bad critic score, but the audience score uh, wasn't the best. But the IP, Jurassic World, great. Jurassic World, I think did great for the IP. Did great because they didn't spend as much on this film as they did with the predecessors. And that's what I've been saying for weeks as well, too, that it's tracking behind its predecessors. And that's what it ended up doing. It's tracking behind its predecessors. And then with the low audience score, it'll likely have a 60% drop. So we'll revisit that. But let's get back to the article here. Before we round this out. And y'all still free to ask any questions about the film. But again, I'm just not going to spoil too much tonight. But like I said, initial thoughts. This isn't the greatest Superman film ever. This isn't the greatest DC film ever. But it's not actually a bad film. Like I said, especially if you get past that first hour. Then it's like, okay, Gunn gets it. He kind of understood the assignment with certain supporting members of the cast. And then the third act, he actually ties it up pretty well. Yeah. But post credit scenes, two post credit scenes. I don't want to say too much about the post credit. It just, I mean, it's an extension to your experience of the film. That's what the post credit. Like, it really, it's a mid credit scene. It's kind of just there, and it's like, oh, okay, it's there, and then there's the after post credit scene where you sit there for the whole time. And I'll just say it like this: if you like the film, if you like how the film ended, and if you like how things are tied up at the end, then you will be happy just sitting there and seeing an extension, of your experience. If you felt like it was a chore for you to get to the end of the film, I wouldn't wait all the way to the end of this post credit scene. I wouldn't wait. No, I'm just saying. Will I buy Superman for my collection? Oh yeah, this will be a 4K. This will be a 4K film. This will be in my DC collection. It's definitely it's better than the Flash. I like the Flash films because I use the Flash as an example, but I'm saying that I like the Flash. I think this film is better than the Flash. Just put together better. Third act definitely much better than the Flash. Definitely much better than a lot of DC films. Actually, now that I think about it, you're not touching again Nolan Batman. You're not touching the BVS third act, Man of Steel third act. You're not touching those. But the subpar, it's better than the subpar DC films. I'll say that. There we go. There we go. So the score has its moments. Now, I will say this because I heard this in the film, and before I saw the film, people say it's a track in the film that sounds like Matt Reeves' Batman score and stuff like that. That score is in the film, but it's nothing about Batman. I do want to dispel that. I don't see Reeves' world fitting into this at all. Like let Reeves be separate. Let him be separate. Yeah, the flying scenes are fine. I mean, you got that moment where his arm, Mister Stretchy. Um, it's a reason why he's going that hard in that moment, and then the close ups. That shot is in the film. Well, I think they fixed it, in my opinion. Other people have seen the film, but the cross-eyed moment they actually fixed. It wasn't removed. The shot is still in this film, and then the new shot that they showed in the trailer. That's it's a cross-eyed shot, but it's like a fixed cross-eyed shot. And then they show the new shot. So they're both in the film. I don't know. Gunn just be saying stuff, saying, "I removed it." It's in there. I don't want a Lex Luthor follow-up film. Now, Lex could pop up another time, but he was just okay in this film. I was surprised I wasn't eating up the Lex stuff. But there are a few needle drop moments. I think in my favorite sequence where I talked about with the supporting character having a warehouse moment, I think that's a needle drop moment. And then at the very end of the film, Gunn does a needle drop, and it actually fits. It fits the film at that point. But most of the score is good. The score isn't overpowering nothing. You do have some nice John Williams-y moments he drops in there as well too. So yeah, the music was fine. Where would I rank this among the most recent DCU films? I mean, I like this better than Matt Reeves' Batman. I'll say that. It's better than. It's even. I would say it's better than Black Adam as a story, because Black Adam, it falls into that third act moment as well, and this film doesn't have this problem. So yeah, this for me, the best thing DC probably did in a while, in my opinion. No star, man. You think it has too many characters? Nah, I mean, they serve a purpose, but you're not diving into the story of all these characters. Um, Even the strongest of the supporting characters, which I'll get into more later this week, more specifics. You didn't even dive into their story, so it's like Lois is pretty surface. It's just Brosnahan is a great performer, you know. So you get into Clark's story. You don't even get much into Lex background. You just know he's mad. It's a Superman story, and a big part of Superman's story is Lois in this film, but not the Lois character. It just this is a Clark story. This is very much a Clark story, but a big part of it is the Clois. But you're not diving into Lois' character. Jimmy is there. He has moments, but it's just you don't dive into these characters. It's really just Clark you're trying to understand, and one of the supporting characters you kind of have a little bit with them. But yeah, it is all revolving around Superman. I will say that. Yeah. Am I interested in the future? Yeah, the character that had their warehouse moment in this film, I'm definitely interested in what they'll do in the future. Yeah. Justice Gang overall, if they show up again, okay. But one particular character, probably two, but one particular character, I'm like, give us something after this. Like, yeah, do that, please. Real quick, the article here again. Target 100, suggesting 130. What we got? It says it's flying high to 130 million in its domestic box office debut. But DC Studios, which is Warner Bros. Discovery, they're being conservative. saying, "Oh, it's gonna be like 100 million by our numbers." DC Warner Brothers always does this. They try to lowball their own tracking so that just in case it doesn't hit the real track, and they say, "Hey, we said just be like 100 million, guys." Um, if this hits 100 million, I think it will. And I think it could be high as 120, but I will say at least 100 million. And like I said, I think it already has the critics. That's checked off. The majority of critics gave it a stamp of approval. Audience score, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, what time we got here? Because I got to start wrapping this up. Okay. Well, it does set up something. Okay, it kind of like clearly sets up something. You comic fans will know when you hear it at the end. You're like, oh, they're obviously setting up this certain story for another character. So it is a little setup. I'll give Gunn credit doing that within the film. All right. Any surprise cameos? And now, when I say surprise cameos, I'm not saying like just earth shattering, but you do get a few like, oh, that person. Oh, okay, that's funny. They put this person here. So it's like that. And then there's a clear setup at the end of this film for another character. Like it's just so on the nose. The dialogue, I'm like, okay, you're gonna do that story. Okay, gotcha. So did it meet expectations? In a weird way. Like I said, it didn't meet my action expectations. I think it's just okay action. But there's some good character work here. It really is. Some pretty good character work in this film. Hawk Girl, we'll talk about her later this weekend. Jimmy's cool. Jimmy has a few moments. Good interactions with him and Lois. So they don't have a lot of time. I don't remember seeing no Bibbo Bukowski in this. Easter eggs. I wouldn't say Easter eggs. Like it's just like Gunn just like here. Now here. It's not really like. And again, our first watch, I'm so locked in on the character performance. So yeah, not a lot of Easter eggs. 200 would be wild. Okay, what we got here? So DC being conservative. So it's saying it's predicting 100 million overseas as well too. So they're talking about a 200 plus opening. So who was saying the international numbers are low? That's what I'm saying. Seeing this film, it's like people just been saying stuff. It's tracking well internationally as well too. Why are we playing like these numbers ain't public? Why are we playing? It's saying 100 million domestic, 100 million plus domestic, 100 million plus international. So that's a 200 plus global opening weekend. Why are people playing around like this? Like, better than Man of Steel. Well, I was saying earlier, we got Chris Cole there on Twitter. Man of Steel and the first Diner film, those are quintessential origin stories. Like, that's not what James Gunn is doing here. This ain't no quintessential origin story. So those, the original Donner, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and I would say Superman 2, that's rarefied air Superman films. No one, I don't think, is going to touch that. Because I don't think no one's going to try to do that quintessential origin story again, right? Now, the rest of the Superman stuff, I mean, I think this is clearly better than Superman 3, 4, Returns. So that's kind of where I put it, where it's not the greatest Superman film. It's not the greatest DC film, but it's not a bad film. It's actually not. Let's see. So yeah, so it's projected to do pretty good globally. So okay, so we could stop that narrative. NRG was saying we covered this a couple weeks ago. 135 million, now 130. We talked about the Rotten Tomatoes score. No reason to compare this to anything Zack Snyder did, or even Donner. Gunn created something new here. We'll see how to say. And again, I'm thinking more of like Raimi Marvel is what Gunn is going for. Live action there. Man of Steel had 116. I think this film could challenge 116. I should think it can. Because like I said, it's more of a family film than I thought. It's you got that love story, so I think you're gonna get some women to go see this. Obviously the whole family's gonna go. So this could make some money. So those are numbers with that. Last minute comments or questions, throw it in the chat. I gotta get some rest. I gotta go back to my day job tomorrow. I go back to the day job tomorrow. If you made it this far, first off, if you're on YouTube, we've been covering this film for almost 2 years now. Smash the like, make sure you still subscribe. Any notable DC stories, and I don't know, it looks like this story is going to continue with Gunn's DCU. So we're going to be here live when it's time to talk about DC, and then other CBM geek stuff that interests us. It could be some Marvel stuff at times and things like that. I'm going to see it again Thursday. I will give my score. Thursday, we'll get more spoilery. Thursday evening, most of y'all will have seen it. So we're going to get a little more spoilers. And what I mean by that is we're not going to just totally give away the ending Thursday, right? I'm going to really be specific on some certain parts I liked, some parts that I critiqued. There's one part, like I said, there's one sequence I'm like, bah. Like this is... You might as well go back to the Flash Speed Force if you're going to do this, Gun. So I'm going to explain more of that Thursday. We're not going to give everything away. But then this Saturday, the weekend edition, we're spoiling everything. We're spoiling every minute of the film. I may have pictures when it comes Saturday. So that's the schedule for the week for the live show. Let's see here. Yeah, global looks pretty good as far as, again, it's all forecasts, it's all projections. Thursday stream around the same time, so it'll be late. And so if y'all happen to be up, if y'all, I could put it on in the background and listen or what have you. We're going to get a little more specific Thursday about, again, my favorite sequence in the film. I'm going to kind of spoil that a little bit Thursday. The sequence is a sequence I really liked. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And then there's a sequence where I'm like, it's like just a mess on the screen, in my opinion, like Flash unfinished CGI moment for me in the film. I'll explain that. And yeah, I'll go just a little more in depth on stuff I like and didn't like Thursday. Appreciate you, Travis. Is it going to make a profit? I think it will. I think like I said, Gunn made a family film here. So if he gets the family out to the theaters, he's going to make some money off this film. He didn't alienate the family aspect. And maybe that's why they toned down the action. Maybe I'm not saying they toned it down. It didn't. I thought the action was going to hit a little bit more, but I was like, okay, if this is more for, I guess, kids and family, then yeah. But I think it'll make a profit though. I will say right now, if you ask me right now, and this is probably just recency, biasness, right? My experience with Aquaman in theaters versus my experience with James Gunn Superman, I'm going to give it to Superman. I think Aquaman is a decent film. I think it has a pretty good setup with Black Mantis. The whole thing, battling Ocean Master. And then you go to the desert for some reason, but that's a really cool sequence. with Mara in the desert. And then you get third act CGI, and Gunn doesn't fall into that. He doesn't fall into the heavy, just out of place CGI in the third act. He actually has a story he's wrapping up. I'm like, hey. So yeah, I'm gonna say just film to film. I'll say Guns is better than Aquaman. Yeah, but it's not touching the Nolan. This ain't touching the Nolan films, in my opinion. It's not touching Snyder's films, in my opinion. And it's kind of hard to say that when you're talking about different characters. So as far as Superman films, like I said before, it's a good. It's not up there. It's watchable. Yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we're at with that. Is it better than Wonder Woman? Now this is interesting. This is a good question. So Gal Gadot Wonder Woman, what was it 2017? A very strong film. I would say, even though Wonder Woman does fall into that third act problem, the rest of the film is very strong all the way up to really just that final fight, right? And that's, they switched it out last minute, right? That Wonder Woman fight, thanks to Jeff Johns, I believe. And like I said, Gunn doesn't fall into that third act problem. That's probably the strongest thing about his film, is that he doesn't fall into that, but that first hour. So I will say Wonder Woman 2017 is better. Overall film is better than James Gunn Superman. But I think both those films kind of is an even fight, in my opinion. That first Gal Gadot film is just pretty strong first two acts in that film, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm gonna put Wonder Woman. I'm gonna put that over that. Appreciate you, Agent 47. This is what we do. I don't know if some countries aren't allowing Superman. I don't know. It's tracking pretty good. It says for the global market. So my rating, I will rate it officially Thursday. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, we just wanted to pop in here. As I finally saw the film, with me as lifelong DC fan, I never want DC to be bad. But if it's bad, if we genuinely feel something's bad, I feel we should call it out. But I was going to give this, I gave all the DC films a fair shot. Shazam 2, I gave that a fair shot. Didn't like it. Blue Beetle was average. Aquaman 2 was okay. I wish they would have marketed it a little bit better. And they, did massive rehauls and reshoots. So they chopped that film all up. But I give these films a chance. Matt Reeves' Batman, I feel, is a bad Batman film, but it's a good crime saga story. So Reeves has a good story going on there, a good Gotham. I just think he has a terrible Batman, but we'll see how part 2 does. Batman and Robin, I have new appreciation for Batman and Robin. I will say James Gunn Superman is better than Batman and Robin, but I just appreciate the Schumacher films even more now. But just final words on this with James Gunn Superman. Like I said, high points, Clois, Crypto. No particular order after Clois, but Crypto and certain supporting cast members. He has a pretty good cast. They really do a lot of the work, probably the work for him, for this film. There's some sequences I really like. One particular sequence, I'm like, and it doesn't involve Superman. It's one sequence in the film, like I said, let's spin off this character right now. Let's not play around. And then there's a sequence. It does involve Superman. It's like it's just mishmash on the screen. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, the haters are going to destroy this gun. What are you doing? I don't know how that made it the final cut, but we'll talk about that Thursday. At the end of the day, pretty good watch, man. I can't deny it when you structure a film and it does hit its marks by the end. Not much else to say about that. Appreciate y'all. As I said, Thursday night, I'm gonna see this again. We're gonna go a little more spoilers with it, and then we're gonna have some real box office numbers to really sink into. Good Gotham, terrible Batman. Thank you, sickness. Yeah, that's literally how I feel about. And the Reeve bots, they was attacking me for years after that. But after Penguin, I think I made up with Reeves, online. I don't know with that. But yeah, I will say though, yeah, with this James Gunn, I thought it was going to be just a total laugh track fest. He didn't do that. But that first hour is going to determine a lot. And we'll talk again more about this Thursday, more numbers. We're going to give the real. People just been talking, giving y'all fake post-credit scenes. People just been running with stuff. Anyway, much love to Sub Nation. I'm going to go get some sleep. And let's see, would Maria throw a diss? I knew it. I knew it was going to be a diss. I'm out of here, man. Maria ended the show. Much love, y'all. Have fun.
Watchmen forever vigilant, steady watching and listening, disciplined, militant, killing these dudes that started visiting. What's the latest word, yo, Sil? We need to know. Tell us what you heard, yo, Sil. We need to know the ins and outs. Who's walking out, buying in? We need to know your thoughts on what's new, what you do to stream a hell of a show. Let's go. One hell of a show. Let's go.